All right, Clayton, thank you so much for being here. Maybe could you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and yeah, your business, who you sort of help and what you guys do?
No worries. So basically we build and rebuild Shopify websites and we do free audits. So if someone comes to us and wants an audit of their website, we'll do like a free video review and we'll give them tips and suggestions to improve their website. We really believe in giving lots of value up front, and whether someone works with us or not, when they interact with us, they leave us better off either way. So yeah, that's what we do, sort of thing.
No, I love that. And anyone who's maybe going to be watching this right now, go and hit Clayton up if you need help with the Shopify stuff. He's yeah, the real deal. But Clayton, maybe did you want to tell me a little bit about like maybe initially, because I know we sort of worked together on like a bit of a PR and podcast campaign. What was your sort of initial goal for like appearing on podcasts?
So originally I'd been on one podcast like years ago, and when your company approached me, I sort of didn't really think podcasting would work, but after speaking to you and your staff, I thought, maybe I should give this a shot, and maybe there is a lot of opportunity here. So I just thought, let's do it and see what happens, sort of thing.
Mhm. No, awesome, man. Awesome. So it was more so like, yeah, just putting yourself out there and then seeing what could eventuate.
Yeah, I think originally the first podcast I ever did, I was so nervous that it sort of made me not want to do podcasts again.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think once, like anything, once you practice, and do things over and over again, you get better out of things.
No, 100%. I think we spoke a little while ago as well. Even my first podcast, I remember that I did. I was, sitting there, I was very nervous, felt like I was stumbling. Yeah, it's one of those things that, initially when you do it, it can be uncomfortable. But I think, good on you for at least, continuing to push out that comfort zone. Because, I mean, it sounds like what we've been talking about has been quite fruitful. But like, I know you sort of done a fair few podcasts now. Like, maybe share the specific strategies that you, I guess, use to maybe maximize the impact of the shows that you went on slash are now going to be going on.
Yeah, so I think I've been on 18 podcasts now, and there's a few that aren't live or anything. But there's a couple of things that I learned from going on podcasts. And for example, one big mistake, I think you might have told me early on about this, but one mistake I made is I never really had very good audio on some of the podcasts. So even though we're not in the studio at the moment, but I went and bought like a really good microphone and stuff like that, because I think the one really important thing about a podcast is you want to sound good on the podcast.
Mhm.
If you don't look good, it's not as bad, but like people are listening to it. Not as I found not as many people watch YouTube videos, so they're more listening to it. So you want to sound really good. And the one thing that um which we can talk about later, I think it's 100 and something, 120 people have reached out from podcasts, because I worked out something early is that if you can give someone good value or some sort of free offer within the first 5 or 10 minutes, like a lot of people will reach out to you, because
Mhm.
if you wait until the end, a lot of people won't make it to the end. But what I noticed is a lot of people are like, don't pitch in the podcast until the end, so you can
Mhm.
say something at the end. But I've realized that most people ask a question that is like it gives you a little opening to like do a soft pitch sort of thing.
Mhm.
So if someone asks me something like, what are you up to now? Or what do you do? Or something like that, I always say, like I did at the start of this, I always say like, oh, we do like free video audits, go through, give people tips and suggestions and stuff, completely free. And then we build and rebuild websites. So I didn't really talk as much when they ask me that. I don't really say as much about we build and rebuild websites. I'm more focused on we do the free audit. Because you think a lot of these podcasts that I'm on, probably over half of them, they actually want to know about Shopify and stuff. So people are actually listening about Shopify, which I build websites on. So if I say I do that free video audit, a lot of people have emailed me and said, oh, I heard you do free video audits, or do you reckon I can grab one, or something like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's 120 people now have
Wow.
emailed me.
No, that's awesome. And I think it is a great testament to the whole, well, two things: show, don't tell, right? The best marketing is when you actually show it. And then also, just giving away the value up front, where it's like, one, you're building authority and expertise, showing them what you can do. And then the right people are going to be like, God, Clayton, there's 50 things I need to fix. I don't have the time. Please do it for me. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
I love that strategy. And like, I think one of the mistakes that I've seen people make is, pitching a little too aggressively, right? Even if they don't mean it. But I think the way that you approached it that was like really soft, where it just sounds very organic, is the key. Because if it comes off any what salesy, people aren't going to be interested. But yeah, man, that's a really, really good idea. And there was one particular podcast you did recently that, you got maybe like outsized returns from. I think that was the Winning with Shopify one that you did. Like, how did that sort of happen? Like, how soon after the podcast did you actually have people reaching out to you?
So that one, it ended up when I went back and tracked it, I think it was 33 people at least emailed me.
Wow.
It was within 1 or 2 weeks that most of those people emailed me within a month. So that was pretty cool. And I also have had good relationships with people that actually host the podcast and stuff. So I've got a lot of referrals and stuff from that as well. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Very underrated strategy in terms of networking with the hosts. Another one of our clients, Lisa, she said that she went back through all the materials that we sent her around like our leverage guide. And it wasn't until later she actually started reaching back out to the host and saying, hey, it was great to connect. Here's some more free stuff. If there's anyone in your network that would benefit from, myself, I'd be happy to, do a complimentary. It's a similar, not a similar service, but similar in terms of like, she'll do like a free sort of discovery session. And actually I've done one of them with her. She does like business strategy stuff and it was like incredibly useful. So yeah, I think that's another really great aspect. But in terms of those leads, has that like resulted in any deals or any sort of success you've seen from that so far?
Yeah, so I've made nearly 100,000, about 100,000 from all the leads.
It's awesome, man.
So yeah, that's pretty good. Most of that is from referrals. So the way I think of it is imagine, so I think like if you go on someone's podcast where they have a complimentary service to you or product or whatever sort of thing. So for example, I build websites. If I go on a podcast where they do digital marketing, they probably have a lot of clients that need websites, and a lot of my clients need digital marketing. So nearly the whole amount of money is from when I built a relationship with the person on the podcast, and then they've went away and referred their clients to me. Because you think about it, if you're on a podcast for half an hour, you're building a good relationship with that person. They already have a good relationship with their clients. So when they're sending someone over to me, they've got a good relationship. They send them a link to the podcast. So I think it's a lot easier to convert someone like that, where it's a really strong referral. We've done a podcast together. There's quite a lot of things on top. Then I do the free audit. So I think that's why that works so good.
No, I definitely agree. I think the relationship aspect is key there. And there's not, always those instances where you get a ton of time to chat and build that relationship with people. But oftentimes the questions on a podcast, kind of hit deep and they're, rapport building questions, for lack of a better term. But that's, yeah, man, that's amazing. And like, if you could go back to the first ever podcast you did, what would you do differently knowing what you know now?
Spend a few $100s on a microphone, that's for sure. I think the one thing that has helped me is that the first podcast I did, even though I was extremely nervous, I had a good relationship with the company. I didn't know the person on the podcast, but it sort of was like a little bit easier. And then the second and third podcast I did, I actually knew the other two people as well. So I think if you are nervous and you want to practice, maybe going on a smaller podcast or someone you know, or ask someone you know to go on a podcast, it sort of makes it easier, sort of thing. Because some of these podcasts where I got a lot of leads or referrals and stuff, I'd already done like 5 or 10 podcasts, so I sort of understood how the podcasting works and stuff like that. I think sometimes, like, imagine if you're on like a really big podcast as your first podcast and then you're nervous and stuff and you don't think of a lot of things. Now I already know basically, like, I never read the questions people send that they're going to ask me or anything. I just do it straight off the top of my head sort of thing. Everyone sort of asks at least 50-60% of the same sort of question sort of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think maybe something like that. I'd go practice on some smaller podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I actually had a chat with a guy this morning where I was like, I would definitely, the times I would recommend going into a small show, like would be definitely to get the reps in, right? Because obviously not as many people would be listening. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think even, yeah, if you were to go on a big one and mess up, you might lose all confidence, ever do it again. So it's definitely something you should practice. And I always tell people as well, the less I always use this quote from Top Gun. I'm not sure if you've seen Top Gun Maverick. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Um, when Maverick's it's towards the end of the movie, he's like in the going through the mountains, whatever, and he's like, "Don't think, just do."
Yeah.
Um, that resonates because we always overthink things. It's like, we're the expert in our own lives, right? People are going to ask us questions about us, about what we do, which, the answers typically come pretty naturally, but we want to overthink and make it sound perfect. So I'm almost like, look, the best preparation is almost not to prepare, right? We're not giving a keynote speech where we have to nail every word. We're having a conversation. And, when there's no cameras on, for lack of a better term, people normally do pretty good. But yeah, I love that. Don't think, just do philosophy in that case.
Yeah. Well, it helps. I've been in business nearly 6 years, so I've been asked nearly any question you could ever think about Shopify. So when I think about it, I probably would mess it up. I just go with it, sort of thing. So I already know what to say.
100%. And like, what advice would you give to businesses who, or business owners who have maybe thought about podcasts or considered it? Like, what would you say, your advice would be to them?
Just go for it and try it. I think it's like anything. You're not gonna be good at it the first couple of times. You need to keep practicing. So I think by the time you get on podcast 20 or 18, like me, like that's when you start to get results. I think nearly anything in my business or businesses, when I just keep showing up and trying to be better each time, it doesn't happen the first time, the second time, or whenever, but eventually you start to see results. So
Correct. Yeah,
yeah.
persistence is it's definitely key, and it's a long game. It's not like a overnight. Hey, get on the podcast and triple the business, but it's like you keep planting those. I call it planting seeds out there, where it's like you continue to show up and add value, and then it will get reciprocated in one way or another. So that's it's amazing, man.
Yeah, the other thing I always think about is like if there's 20 reasons someone buys something off you. So I really thought about this last year and when we worked together and stuff. But if there's 20 reasons someone buys something off you, I always think like maybe being on a podcast and them listening to some of your podcasts might be one reason. Having
Mhm.
140 reviews like we do might be another reason. Winning some awards might be another reason.
Mhm.
So basically, especially in service businesses, when you start stacking all these things on top of each other, if you're going up against someone who has 2 out of 20 things and you have 18 out of 20 things, it's going to be a lot easier for you to convert. And I definitely know when I've been on sales calls, there's been a lot of people that have either watched my about video that I think you watched, and
Mhm.
then podcasts. So people actually refer back to things I've said on podcasts and stuff. So it's really building that relationship with someone before you even get on the call, sort of thing. So it's good.
That's actually a really good insight because I've never looked at it that way, but like that makes perfect sense in terms of, yeah, like if I had 20 of those things and someone else had two, like it's going to be, a no-brainer in terms of that. And that's why I think, all the, I even struggle with this sometimes as well. Sometimes posting content doesn't feel like it's doing anything, right? Because I'm like, I'm not running an ad and getting a lead and closing a sale. It's like you're just putting it out there, but you do have to trust that that stuff is like nurturing people because I know for a fact people are always watching, right? Even if they're not engaging or liking, people are watching, and it might be 6 months, it might be 5 years before they actually like took an action, but they've seen you so many times where it's just like, oh yeah, cool. Like they feel like they know you, right? Which I feel
Yeah.
like you've done a great job now with all the YouTube and stuff. Yeah, man, looks like killing it.
Yeah, even if you look at my because I think it's 10 video reviews I have now. They're
Mm-hmm.
all unlisted on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
but the first 2 or 3 videos that are on my website have hundreds of views.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about hundreds of people have watched that and it's only on my website. So
Sure.
obviously people are watching and looking and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, exactly. And when they're ready, some of them they will be there to purchase.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate your time.
No, it's all right. One other thing I was gonna say is that my interaction with your agency has been really good. Like I have nothing bad to say about you guys. Like all the staff was really good, everything like that. So that's why I'm happy to do whatever. So yeah, I really appreciate it. You really gave me the push that I needed to really think about podcasting. So
I
yeah,
appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And likewise, it's been great working with you and yeah, sort of being a catalyst in all of that.
awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for that, dude. That was awesome. Um,
Yeah, no worries.
is there yeah, man, I'd love to sort of help out in any way I can. Is there any way that I can, add value or help or any challenges that you're having right now besides that
Um,
that guy that we spoke about?
no, so yeah, I had a good chat to him, and then I've been trying to look for someone else as well. So
Mhm,
hopefully everything sort of goes okay. Um, but yeah, in that thing, I should have said this as well, because you know how I said if there's 20 reasons why someone buys something off you,
mhm,
when I worked with you guys, that was like one of the things that made me start to think about the 20 reasons as well. Because like last year, I really sat down, especially from the start of the year and over the whole year, I started to really think about those 20 things,
mhm,
because I had a lot of people. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I had a lot of people on calls where they're like, you're 5 times more than other people's quotes, but we're going to work with you, or 3 times more, or you're the most expensive quote, but we're going to work with you. And I sort of started to think, why are people doing this? And that's what started my brain down the path of like, if you have 20 of those reasons, and then another reason might be just having like an offer that's like people feel stupid to say no to. So for like example, sometimes uh we'll send a quote 3 to 5 times more than someone else, but we do like 2 week support. We make personalized training videos. We do all these different things. And then when you stack the other 20 things on top, it's just like,
mhm.
um, yeah, unless someone just wants the cheapest, like basically if they don't want the cheapest person, then basically nearly everyone says that if it's in their budget, they'll hire us, sort of thing. Um,
What were those things outside of the personalized support and the personalized training that like makes your offer a no-brainer?
oh, just like all the different things we're gonna do. Like, I think the thing like us doing a video review as well is like it's a whole big the start to the finish of like sending the quote
Mhm,
is like, oh, this guy's given us so much, all this value straight up without even we haven't paid him, so it like combines on top of each other. And then I just be like real, like when I go through the quote, and just be upfront, being
mhm,
upfront and exactly what they're going to get.
mhm,
One thing I always say on calls is like, we don't ditch people. So I think one of the things is like people don't want to feel like they're getting ditched after the website,
mhm,
especially if they've hired someone before.
mhm,
Because I've done a lot of research into like what other website agencies do and agencies in general.
mhm,
Um, so I know that a lot of people that get websites built, they sort of like once it's done, it's like see ya, good luck sort of thing.
mhm.
So we try not to be like that sort of thing. So I don't know, maybe that doesn't make sense, but I
All
think
right, it
it's
makes perfect sense.
yeah,
Yeah, people want support. They want to feel like, they're yeah, like being supported by the company that they're working with. I think that's yeah, a great testament to your character as well, that you really care. Um,
yeah,
that
yeah.
personalized
Because
touch is very key. Do you just like sort of do that? Like, is it a service, the ongoing thing, or is it more so just checking in and just seeing how they're going?
we give them 3 options, so it's not really. I don't want to be like this, but I feel like this is like one of the things that help sell my service. So
Mm,
I basically say, look, once the website's done, we have 2 weeks support after it.
mhm,
And then basically everyone goes in 3 different directions. So this is the 3 directions. So one, you can take all the training videos and do it yourself. Like
mhm,
we'll make all the training videos and stuff. The second one is, and I always say it like this too, because I think this helps as well. So I'm like, So some people pay us forever. So we have clients that have paid us for 4 or 5 years on an hourly retainer, and we've done everything on their website.
Mhm.
So when I'm saying that, when I'm going through the quote, I think it's putting in their mind, oh, these guys have been around for 4 or 5 years. Like the
Mhm.
people have kept working with them for that long. And then the third one I say is sometimes people do a hybrid of both. Like probably 80% of people will do a hybrid where they will like update their announcement bar and their banners and add products. And then if they get stuck, they'll hire us to do other stuff.
Mhm.
And then I've been testing different things I say after that, but around um, like trying to do the right thing by them and helping them and what works for them and stuff like that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
yeah. Because the one thing I did a lot of research into agencies. So the one thing I've noticed is that I always call people on the dot. So like no matter what, like I've put a system in place where I'll call someone right on the dot. Normally I'm like 2 or 3 seconds late, and it's a good way to be like, they're like, oh, you rung me on the dot. And as I say, I'll ring you on the dot, or I'll get on the Zoom on the dot.
Mhm.
And then I'll be like, oh, sorry, I was 3 seconds late. Sorry about that. And it sort of starts this like good, like some people laugh or think it's funny and stuff, sort of starts the call off in a good way.
Mhm.
And then I never tell people the price on the call,
Mhm.
because one of the things to get people on calls, I'm like, oh, I don't pressure anyone on the call. I just sit down, go through it and send the quote after it. Because
Mhm.
I think a lot of agencies pressure people on the calls as well, from what
Mhm.
I've noticed from doing research. So I don't like to be pressure people and things like that. So
Mhm.
I think I'm just laid back and I just try to do a few different key things that other people don't do,
Mhm.
sort of thing. So
It's a great
yeah,
example of like it's not about what works, it's about what works for you. And not everyone can sit there and like pressure someone into a sale. Like I can't, like I hate doing that. Like anytime I've ever felt like that, I feel like that icky sales thing, but it sounds like you found a really good system around how you sort of approach it. And I like to call it like removing the sales pressure, right? A little joke, right? Where it's
yeah,
like, hey, sorry, I'm 3 seconds late, right? Because some people, as I'm sure you know, come on the call quite tense, and it can be yeah, sales is one of those things. It's essential in business, but some people just don't like that, which is fine. But I think, yeah, you've come up with a really good system around finding what's worked for you, and it seems like it's worked really well.
yeah. Even I remember talking to Sam,
Mm.
um, uh, because yeah, basically I was like, hey man, like I've spent over 50,000 on courses and programs and stuff. And I'm in the 1% where if I hang up on this call and go think about it, if I want to do it, I'll pay the money. Because
Hmm.
I think maybe he was thinking, like if we don't do a deposit, or I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But he was thinking maybe I won't come back or something.
Hmm.
But I think the reason, because I buy like that, maybe that's how I sell, because I sell the way I buy. And I'm always the one who'll be like, after the call, I'll think about it. If I'm having a good feeling about it, then I'll pay for it.
Hmm.
And I've done that for nearly anything I've ever bought, like while I've had the agency.
Hmm.
So maybe that's why I sell like that. So that's one thing I've been thinking about too, is like when I've been talking to other agencies, I'm like, how do you normally buy stuff? And
Hmm.
I'm trying to work out if that's how they sell or something like that. So yeah, maybe that's why it works for me. Some people ghost me, but that's why I do a Loom video going through the quote.
Hmm.
Because if I get notified when they view the Loom video. So basically, if they ghost me and they never watch the Loom video, it's probably just they open the quote up and they're like, nah, that's too much. Or if they watch the Loom video and then never got back to me, then I think why. But nearly no one will not get back to me if they watch the Loom video,
Hmm.
or maybe they're on the fence if they ghost me at that stage, sort of thing.
Hmm.
But what I've been doing now as well, I've been testing this this whole year. Before, I used to be like, oh, hey, just checking in after a week or two. Um, and a lot of people would ghost me on that. But now I've been like, oh, hey, just if this isn't a good time, here's a link to my YouTube channel.
Nice.
It's got some free videos on how to do stuff. And most people, when I send that follow up, they'll be like, oh, hey, I'm just letting you know it was out of my budget, but I really liked what you're saying and doing. So I'm actually getting like better feedback even if they're saying no, because
Mhm.
I think I'm doing that giving value, sort of trying to help them out, sort of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I
just I
think that
think it's
works
yeah,
really
it's all
well.
about testing different things, sort of thing. But yeah, I really hate like pressure on the calls and stuff like that. So that's probably why I've been like that.
I'm the same. Like I'm quite an easy sale. Like, like if someone's really good at sales, they're going to close me, right? Like
Yeah,
it's just, and sometimes it's not necessarily something that you need. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm similar to you. Like if I am serious about something, like, I'll actually think and I'm like, either like, yep, 100% keen, let's move forward. Or I was like, nah, like it's, just not a priority right now type of thing. I think, yeah, it's just definitely the most annoying. Like we have a few different, well, I've implemented a couple of different strategies around how we sort of handle that, interaction, because even people who seem like they have really high integrity, will sometimes just completely ghost you. But I 100% remember Sam told me, he was like, yeah, I've got choked this guy, Clayton, he's interested, but like this is what he said. And he pretty much said it exactly what you just said, you think about it. And if you're keen, you'll just get started. Yeah, which you did.
yeah. Because when I say that, if people like, I could be like 99% I'm gonna hire you guys, and then if I say that and people are like, they really start to push it down a line, it sort of turns me off.
Mhm.
Like I nearly paid someone $10,000 once, and I was like, this guy's a legend. I love this guy, like everything he's saying. And then he really went down the line of like, no one buys after if they don't commit in the call. And I already knew that. I always buy after I've thought about it, and it turned me off like wanting to work with them. So that's why I've learned now since that guy, and probably I said something along the lines on to Sam is like, I'm in that 1% where I'll go think about it, and then if it's a good fit, I'll pay 100%.
Mhm.
I think I even emailed him and said I told you I was in the 1% or
Yeah.
something like
I
that.
think he may have even sent me that screenshot, to be honest.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm more about like actually letting the other person know, hey, like I bought $50,000 worth of stuff this way. This is how I buy stuff. So
Mhm.
I think that helps them not like push the point a little bit as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
no, definitely. I think, yeah, I think the word is a very powerful thing. Like if, you give your word and say, hey, so I just ask, hey, like, I know you said you go back to me, like, can I count on you for that? You sort of get that
yeah,
people's buy-in. Because yeah, either way, it's just like, I don't care if someone buys or not. I just really want a decision because, I could go through and calculate all the hours that, myself or the team have followed up with people who said that they were serious and weren't. But yeah, I
yeah.
guess it's part of the joys, huh?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about things like this, especially the last year and a half. Just why people buy and things like that. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that 20 reasons is interesting. I'm going to think heavily through that as well. I really like that.
yeah. The other thing I thought about is that imagine you look like someone who used to bully me at school or something like that.
Hmm.
That's probably it's probably going to be extremely hard for you to sell to me as well. But
Mhm.
if you look like my best friend at high school or something like that, and you sound like him and talk like him, then it's going to be like an easier sell as well. So I
Mhm.
think sometimes like we have this bias in our brains as well, like um, yeah, because I've thought about people I've bought off, and yeah, like for example, I bought a lot of Sam Ovens stuff, and like my best friend is like looks like Sam Ovens, and even speaks like him a little bit. He'd probably
Right.
be Sam Ovens if he had his own
Mhm.
business. So it probably like got like there was a bit of like stuff built up from my life, like people's like someone I like speaking like that, if that makes sense.
No, it does for sure. And like, I don't necessarily agree that we just buy from people that we like, but I think it's more so nowadays, like, we buy from people that, we trust can get us the result that we're after. But we
Yeah,
100% have a lot of biases that really like that they shape so much of what we do unconsciously. And like it's probably, I don't know if it's the correct bias, but maybe like a familiarity bias where it's like, you have something that feels really familiar and it just gives you this like warm feeling versus the contrary. Yeah. Someone that bullied you, you know, some bad situation is going to bring back that, and you just, yeah, not going to resonate at all.
yeah. I think it's the same reason why people are racist and stuff like that. It's not like maybe something bad happened to them. Maybe their parents told them for their whole adult like child life, and there's like heaps of different things. Like I really thought about that as well. Like
Mm.
um Yeah. So it's like heaps of different things, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's probably just all programming. Like our minds are programmed with different pieces of information. Like, you get bullied by someone who looks like, this guy that is trying to sell you. Your mind is programmed, like it's telling you, oh, this is bad, this is danger, right? Versus on the
yeah,
contrary, like the Sam Alvin's reference, this is good, this is comfort, and yeah, we operate unconsciously. So it's like, yeah, you have
yeah.
to be aware of your patterns, really. I think, and understand them because yeah, like I think racism's honestly I almost feel like it's engineered in a lot of ways. Like, like maybe intentionally, maybe not, but like, yeah, whole nother rabbit hole. But yeah, I won't even touch on that. We don't want to go there.
Oh, yeah. Well, the only reason I've like uh compared that is because like if one situation in my life never happened, I probably would be like a really racist person. But most people think of me as like the least racist person they know, sort of thing.
Mhm.
Because like I got like really picked on and like beat up and stuff by all these Lebanese people when I was really young, and I was like instantly like scared of Lebanese people. And then a few years later, this girl, she invited me into her home with her family, and they were really nice and all this sort of stuff. And it changed whatever program was in my brain that not all Lebanese people are bad or not. And it made me think later in life that there's good and bad in every race, religion,
Mhm.
um, sporting team. Like there's good and bad in everything. So if you're always like focusing on the bad, you'll find the bad. You just more focus on the good, I think. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's human nature for sure. Like there is definitely good and bad in everything. Even the people that are like the most religious, there's a lot of bad in that. The extremists you see, like ISIS or whatever. You know,
yeah,
they're saying Allah Akbar, which is like God something, like praise God or something like that, and
yeah.
that's what.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry to go down that rabbit hole, but I
No, no,
think
no.
that's actually that situation that happened when I was young has really helped me a lot in my life, sort of thing. So that's because I really am like, there's good and bad in everything. There's up, you can't have up without down, you can't have left without right.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's just the way the world is, I think. So,
Mhm. Polarity,
yeah,
as they call it.
yeah, well, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah,
Philosophical.
yeah, awesome. Um, yeah. Anything else you wanted me to talk about or
Well, no,
say
not
or anything like
necessarily,
that?
man. Like, no, like, I mean, it's obviously still recording, but like, yeah, my intention was
Yeah.
just to see if there's any, way that I can sort of help as well. Like, I'm just going to cut the bits of this that we don't need.
Oh yeah, it's all right. It's all good.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I'm
um,
happy to do anything. Like even if you want me to do like a video review or something by myself or whatever. But yeah, I'm like really grateful that I did run into you guys because it did give me that little push. And I think when I did run in with you, I think I might have said before, I used to get hundreds of leads a week.
mhm.
And like I get like maybe five now from Shopify experts. So like if I never like ran into you guys, it wouldn't have made me start to think about outside the box because
Mhm.
I knew for many years that I can't rely on Shopify experts. Like one day something's going to happen, and then eventually it did. So
Mhm.
like this has really helped me to start thinking about podcast referrals and like I even go to networking stuff here in the area and um,
Nice.
some of the biggest clients I got in where I live are from like that networking thing.
Oh,
Like it's
nice.
been like a chain reaction. So it's made me think of like all outside the box and stuff. But are you in Queensland?
Yeah. Yeah. You're in Victoria, Melbourne?
Sydney, yeah.
Oh, Sydney. Sorry.
Um, you're right. Whereabouts in Queensland are you?
On the Gold Coast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm going up there in a couple of weeks. So
Oh, nice. What date?
the 20th to 23rd, I think.
In
So
Gold
it's
Coast
like,
specifically?
is it called Broadbeach or something?
Oh, that's where I
Does that
live,
make
Broadbeach.
sense?
Yeah.
Oh
It makes
yeah, that
sense.
yeah, that, yeah. Well, that's where I'm going. I just booked the stuff last night. So
Nice. Well, why don't we grab
yeah.
a coffee or something while you're up? If you
Yeah.
have time, what are you up here for? Work, business?
There's like a award thing up
Oh,
there.
nice.
So I don't know if you heard of the Raw Awards. So
No, I haven't.
yeah, so there's one in Broadbeach, I think. So I think it's right. Is that what I said?
Is that the
Broadbeach?
convent? Yeah. Is that the convention center? Is that where it is?
I think it's like a flamingo thing or something.
Oh, Pink
So,
Flamingo.
yeah, it's there. Is that
Wow.
like really close to you?
Super close. Yeah. So I go to the gym. It's in the Oasis Center, which it takes me around 8 minutes to walk there. And Pink Flamingo is like right on that sort of section just there. So it'll probably take me 8 minutes to walk to Pink Flamingo.
Yeah, so that's one thing as well. Like this Raw Awards. So last year when I went, it was in Sydney. And I think I wrote it here. So from the Raw Awards, I've got like about 10. So that I actually went on their podcast as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
I got about 10 people message me from that one. But the thing about when I went to the Raw Awards last year is that the lady that was on my table, she just spent $30,000 on a Shopify website,
Hmm.
like maybe like 2 months before the Raw Awards. And it was like, it made me think like, even just going to these things and talking to people, like, imagine if I ran into that lady 6 months earlier, the Raw Awards is then.
Hmm.
I might have been able to land that like that
Hmm.
client, and then people have seen me at that event and then message me and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's all like different things and things like that.
Yeah.
Because we,
The more hands you shake, the more money you make, is what they say.
yeah, because the awards they're pretty expensive. Like I think I spent like 8,000 or something
What?
on, yeah, because a lot of them you have to. So some of them are like it's free to enter,
Hmm.
or you have to pay to enter,
Hmm.
and then, but the ones that are free to enter, the way they make the money is that the awards night you pay for your ticket. So for
Hmm.
example, like the Australian Champions one, it's free to enter, but the ticket's $360.
Hmm.
And then 2,000 people went over 2 nights. So that's like 70K, 700,000 or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's a,
these things are businesses, that's for sure.
yeah. And then, so yeah, we spent a bit, but like I've made like, I'd have to calculate it, but it's got to be at least 70,000 from 8,000.
That's good.
Um,
That's a good return.
Yeah, and then just yeah, I think it looks good because we've won like I've been one or been finalist for 35 now. There was a really big client in Australia, so I put the champ like in my background. I used to have a big champ Australian champions thing,
Hmm.
and the consultant at the end said, "Oh, there was only two reasons you got on a call with the CEO and stuff is because you had 100 reviews and you're like a finalist for that Australian champions thing." And you
Right.
think all I did was just fill out a thing and submitted it. So I could have just done that for free.
Hmm.
Like, and then Sydney has all local business awards that are free. You don't have to go. I think they're about to go into Victoria and Queensland as well. So even if you don't pay for stuff, there's stuff for free as well.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
definitely.
but it's only one of those 20 things again. But I think you just keep stacking things on top of each other. It just helps. So
Correct. Correct.
yeah.
Appreciate that, mate. Thank you so
All
much.
right. See you later.
I appreciate your time. Catch up
So,
soon. See ya.
bye.